correct," he said coldly. "It's not a swastika, then?" "There is no tattoo." Strictly speaking, it was the truth. The swastika had been burned into Rowland's chest. The rumour, however inaccurate, took him by surprise. That it was being used to affiliate him with the fascists mortified and infuriated him. White did not miss the change in his subject's demeanour. Maybe Sinclair was not an admirer of the Nazis. There was the presence of Isaacs, after all. It was interesting, but the room was beginning to spin, so perhaps the paradox of Rowland Sinclair would be more usefully pursued another day. Crispin White thanked Rowland for his time and his brandy, sincerely, because he'd quite unexpectedly enjoyed the young man's company. Realizing that both he and his guest were compromised by their intemperance, Rowland suggested that White stay the night at Woodlands and drive home in the morning. "Why, that's most handsome of you, Sinclair." "And unnecessary." Milton strode into the dining room. "I'll drive Crispin home. He'll be able to report that he rode in a Red Cross Invitational race car, and it'll give us a chance to catch up." "But my vehicle," White began. "I'll drop it back tomorrow, or you can pick it up, but there's no need for you to stop tonight." White seemed unsettled, but he agreed. Again, Rowland noted the prevailing tension between them. It smouldered like dry kindling about to ignite. He was accustomed to Milton's temper, which was often quick and hot. But this was different. Still, Milton declined any further company, and whatever the issue between the two men, Crispin White did not appear dangerous. And so Rowland bade the reporter good night. Edna opened the front door for Milton as the staff had long since retired. It had been 3 hours since the poet had departed with Crispin White. Rowland and Clyde had passed the time with hands of poker, while Edna occupied herself drafting plans for a new commission, a frieze for the Millers' Flats Memorial Hall. They'd all been becoming decidedly concerned about the duration of Milton's absence, and so it was with some relief that Edna admitted him. Milton took a seat, falling wearily into the armchair with his legs outstretched. "Dropped him off at King's Cross," he said sullenly. "You were gone long enough to drive him to Melbourne and back," Clyde muttered. "How do you know Crispin White?" Edna asked, leaving her drawings to interrogate him. "I don't remember him." The sculptress and the poet had known each other since they were children, living on the same street in Burwood. They shared a great deal of history in most of their past acquaintances. "His name was Wyson, not White, when I knew him. He's not a bloke I would have let near you back then, Ed." "Why ever not?" "I can't say." "What did he do?" "I can't say it, really. I have no right to say. Just trust me." "Did you have it out with him on the way to his lodgings?" Rowland had noticed the few drops of blood on Milton's usually immaculate cravat. "Let's say we had words and he suffers from nosebleeds. What did he ask you about, Rowley? In the dining room?" Rowland moved to sit on the couch. Edna curled up to make room for him. She made herself comfortable against his shoulder while he told them of his conversation with White. "He thought it was a tattoo?" Edna asked uneasily. It did not seem right that something inflicted so brutally and violently could be mistaken for a sailor's decoration. "Chinese whispers. Clearly the details have been somewhat altered in the retelling," Rowland replied tersely. "What did you tell him?" "That I don't have a tattoo." He loosened his tie and released the top button of his shirt. Milton shook his head. "At least he was using it to cast you as a villain rather than a hero, Rowley. Perhaps Wyson, or White as he now calls himself, has changed. He claims he has." Rowland was tempted to ask from what White had changed, but they all knew Milton enough to be certain that if the poet said he couldn't say, then he wouldn't say. "Don't worry about it, Rowley," Clyde advised. "Just focus on the race. Do you know who's on your team yet?" "Not yet," Rowland replied, "though I understand the teams have been drawn." The Maroubra Multicar Invitational was to be a team endurance event. To maximise public interest, the teams would run 3 vehicles apiece from each of 3 weight and engine capacity categories in a long-distance relay. "We'll all be introduced to each other tomorrow at the cocktail party." Rowland had not realised the race was going to be so